Very rarely does a game invoke such a confusing emotion. It's really hard to describe this surreal experience. To start at the basics, this game is called Auryn Quest. I'm going to mispronounce that like 100 times. Auryn, Auryn. You're going to hear me say it like 50,000 times. Anyway, it's based on the never-ending story. It doesn't specify if it's the book or filmed adaptation, but as you'll see shortly, it doesn't really matter. Released in 2002, Auryn Quest is a first-person platforming game. What makes this game so worth exploring is how weird it is. There's bugs, there's jank, but most importantly, it has this creepypasta element to it. The levels are typically haphazardly thrown together. Half the time there appears to be no rhyme or reason to the madness. On top of this, there's levels that have zero music, so when you're going through a creepy cave with a silence so loud you can hear your own heartbeat, it creates a bit of unease. It is such a weird game, man. You know, I feel like I can't do Auryn Quest justice by reviewing it in the same way I review every other game. I think it's a better approach to just start from the beginning and almost give a tour. So, you know what? Let's do that. There's a cutscene every time you launch the game. It really doesn't explain a whole terrible lot, but at least you got the objective.
Fantasia. The most beautiful world during the reign of the childlike empress. She sat in the ivory tower and used the power of the Auryn to protect Fantasia from all evil. But then the impossible happened. Someone snuck into the ivory tower, stole the Auryn, and took it to a secret place. Without the Auryn, the childlike empress was helpless. Unable to defend her kingdom, she had to watch as more and more beautiful countries and wonderful creatures were swallowed by the nothing. Now even the ivory tower is in danger.
What's an Auryn? Why are the leaders children? What exactly is the nothing? The game will never explain it. There's no story-driven plot here, no audio logs, no journals, nothing. The manual is also pretty light on lore. The Never-Ending Story is a book and film franchise I've never explored. I've seen the first movie maybe once, and it was at school on a tiny CRT, and everyone cried at that one scene. You know the scene that I'm talking about. I've also never seen a single page or even word of the book. I've only seen the cover. For this video, I watched the first film again, and sorry, because I think this is a hot take, I did not really enjoy it. However, the movie did explain some things, I guess, but it doesn't add anything to the game itself. In fact, if anything, it creates more questions. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but I was just curious. I didn't want to go into this game not knowing anything about the Never-Ending Story and have all these questions and then have you guys tell me that you would have known if you'd just watched the movie. There is a reason for the ambiguity. Auryn Quest was supposed to be so much more. This is apparent by the title card. The Real Never-Ending Story, Part 1. Part 1, huh? This tagline is absent from the box art. The game was developed by Discrete Monsters. On YouTube, someone uploaded a behind-the-scenes video. I'm assuming this video was released at the time as sort of a marketing strategy. It's all in German, so you kind of need closed captions, and hopefully those are accurate.
Hat bislang 6,5 Millionen Mark an Entwicklungskosten verschlungen. Erklärtes Ziel: ein 3D-Action-Adventure, das neue Maßstäbe in den Bereichen Gameplay, Grafik und Dialogsystem setzen soll. The Real Never-Ending Story lautet der Titel des Spiels.
But yeah, you could kind of see the game being made. I think the big takeaway is that Auryn Quest was a completely different game at one point. You see glimpses of standard adventure game mechanics. There's inventory, there's items, there's talks of being a lot more characters and deep plot with conversation trees. Discrete Monsters bit off more than they could chew and ended up going bankrupt and closing their doors. With the original release of 1999, the game didn't come out in 2002. What's wild is that this was Discrete Monsters' only project, and I can't think of many companies that only released one game in their lifetime, except maybe the developers of Sinistar Unleashed. That was the only game that they had made. But other than that, that's all I could think of. Let me know in the comments if you know of another developer that only released one game. Apparently, at one point, there was a company called Attraction that came in and tried to polish the game up and finish it, but I don't think they really did much besides make it playable. going back to the whole Part 1 thing, the fact that they removed it from the box art but not the title card itself is proof alone that they didn't spend a whole lot of time getting this game out the door. The evidence doesn't stop there, though. For one, there's no main menu. After the splash screens, you just get thrown into the game. There's no options to fiddle with whatsoever. You do have a launcher where you can pick your graphics quality, like overall preset, and then your resolution, but besides that, there's nothing else. The mouse aiming starts inverted, and this is resolved by pressing one of the F keys. No, you don't go into a menu and uncheck inverted aiming. It's an F key, which might be a new thing for me. I don't think I've ever seen a game do this. But you know what's wild? Despite this game's state being obviously broken and unfinished, it works in Windows 10 out of box with almost no issues. 1920 by 1080 and everything. I know games that are of higher budgets and higher caliber that are absolute pains to get working in Windows 10, but for some reason, Auryn Quest works fine. Man, I haven't even started talking about the game itself, so let's go ahead and begin exploring why this game holds a special place in my and others' hearts. There is a hub world, but you can go from level 1 to the ending without ever seeing this area again. Speaking of level 1, it's Mountain of Destiny. Right away, you'll see this yellow ball. Each level has 10 of what the game calls energy balls. Getting to the end of the game requires you to get all these balls. If not, the big rock face at the end will blow you back to the hub world. The hub world will show you the progress of each stage so you know which ones you finished and which ones you haven't, just in case you get blown back to the hub world. However, let's say you missed one ball on a level, you still have to get them all again. So when you enter a level, it resets your progression and the ball locations. So it's best to just go ahead and make sure you get 10 in one go. Alright, so a few inches into level 1, and you meet someone.
So you are looking for the Auryn? Up here in the Mountain of Destiny? I haven't seen it here. It might be hidden in Gaia's dungeon. If you intend to go there, you must first find my 2 brothers, who will open the entry to the dungeons. Good luck.
All the voice acting is like this. A lot of the times you won't expect an NPC, then boom, a big stone golem.
Well, you really are a small one. Perhaps it's better this way. You still have a long way to go. I saw that they put these energy balls you need here and there. You'll find 10 of them in each world and the Auryn, but it is lost. Lost in the labyrinth of time and shattered into 1,000 pieces. Yes, you certainly are small.
That's kind of what this game is like. You get to a new level, you freely explore, and come across weird and interesting sights. Talking to NPCs requires just kind of showing up and being in their general vicinity, and then they'll give you some exposition dumps and you'll move on your way. One thing that you'll notice is that they always mention the energy balls. They remind you over and over again to make sure you got the energy balls. So if you forget one, it's kind of your fault. You had everyone telling you to make sure you had them. This level has some pretty fitting, fantastical music. We got these clouds spawning waterfalls. There's cool inscriptions on the walls. It's a game of running around to find the energy balls, and you'll come across all sorts of interesting architectures and designs. So it's very fitting to hear this type of music while you run around on this floating island. There's these balls here that are checkpoints. If you die, this is where you will spawn back. There's no live system or game over. You just get teleported to the last checkpoint ball you touched. Dying usually just means falling too far, which that's kind of misleading. There's some areas where you could just fall a few inches and you'll die. To fast forward to level 2 briefly, there's this staircase that will kill you if you don't just walk down them. And then later on, there's a level where you have to take a leap of faith to get to this energy ball, which you think would kill you because here on level 1, you can't fall from that far of a height without dying. So the fall damage dying thing is a little jank, and it's hard to tell what will kill you and what won't, but, you know, after a while, you just kind of know what jumps you can make. It's kind of hard to explain, but just believe me, after a while, you'll know what you'll survive and what you won't survive. I guess it's another product of the game being unfinished, so, yeah, chalk that up to jank. The only moves at your disposal are walking, sprinting, and jumping. It's honestly very smooth and fast. It feels almost like an arena shooter. However, you'll never have an enemy encounter, you just run and jump. It's a perfect game for speedrunners, as you can really schmoove if you know the level layouts. Anyway, each level typically has an objective. This needs to be completed before the next level opens, so while you're hunting for energy balls, you need to figure out what the level objective is. For this first one, it's finding all this dude's brothers, so they'll open the portal to the next level. They'll also open this giant hatch leading to one area that has, this thing. Yeah. If you peek into one of the crevices, you can kind of glitch the map and get a good full look at the thing. It comes over to you like it's programmed to follow the player. My guess is this is a scrapped enemy that they just happened to program and thought, we'll throw it in the game. Regardless of what it is, it's insanely creepy. I don't like it. It's a spider woman. It's creepy. I hate spiders. The game gives absolutely no explanation for this creature. There's no dialogue, nothing in the manual. Nothing. And you think the magician dudes or whoever they are would, say something about this? But they don't. It's really weird. All right, so you go back to this hole that you keep seeing visions of, and it's time for level 2, Gaia's Lava Dungeon. It's something to point out that the characters never show back up, and there's also a lot of names that just get thrown around, like Gaia in this instance, who is this little goblin-looking dude, I think. Apparently, you ruined his soup by following it. Now you gotta fix his contraption or whatever, and he'll open the passage to the next level. Gaia's dungeon is pretty straightforward. It's hard to miss these energy balls, except maybe one. The previous level was kind of mazy with teleporters and stuff. Here, it's just run straight. The game starts introducing more difficult platforming sections, and you also get hit with some traps. What makes Gaia's dungeon really stand out is its ambiance, or lack thereof. You just hear machinery and sometimes cave noises. Other times, it's just very quiet. You walk through caverns, cross over lava lakes, and interact with massive mechanisms, all in dead silence with no music whatsoever. I'm trying to let the game talk for me, but truly it's something you need to experience by playing light at night in a quiet room. Once you got the energy balls and did Gaia a favor since you ruined his soup, it's time for the Singing Trees country. This is a wild level full of strangeness. It's about here where I begin to question how this world is laid out. It's called Fantasia. I'm assuming most of you already knew this, as I'm probably one of the few people that hadn't seen the movie, but like once. All the levels seem to be floating in the sky, yet somehow the hole in the ground level 1 was a portal that led straight to the Goblin's Pot. Now we're in another floating island, and with some very weird distant singing. Alien plants, a mesmerizing skybox, pig-like monsters that'll kill you if you get too close. This thing, it's terrifying to be honest. Not sure who decided to make the nightmare fuel mandrake. It's all very wild and fantastical, and this is probably the craziest level out of all of them in terms of just the weirdness there is to look at and hear. You have to get this spooky plant some water, and he'll give you his fruit. Then you give that fruit to these pig monsters, so they'll let you get the lever that opens this door. There's also a puzzle that requires matching a song to these pillars. Each pillar's a note, and you have to hit them in the same order as the song you hear.
Play the tune.
It's these two puzzles that somewhat show the developer's original intention, an adventure game with items and environmental problem solving. There's even E and Q leaning, implying that maybe there would have been a stealthy aspect or something like that, but you know what? It's unfortunate that we'll never see the original version, but at least we got an acid trip out of it. Once through this level, we get to this nice old lady. She doesn't look suspicious at all. She even tells us she has the Auryn.
The entry is in my hut. Come on in.
go there. This is a trap.
Then boom, you're in her pocket dimension. This is where you can really exploit the janky physics. Look, I skipped the whole challenge by CSGO surfing off the obstacles, only to die on a simple trap. But the point is look, you can really move around these stages with the broken geometry. Once you get into level proper, this is where the platforming really kicks in. I hate first-person platforming with a fiery passion. It's ruined really good games for me because I just can't stand it. This is the only stage in Auryn Quest that got my blood boiling because you can't rely as heavily on sprint jumping over all the challenges. However, it's short, it makes up like 10% of the experience, so I'm not going to rant or complain like a baby. Instead, I'll just kind of deal with it. Assuming you got all the energy balls, which you should have considering the NPCs remind you in every bit of dialogue, the final level starts after the creepy stonehead gives you a riddle of sorts. Listen to that music! It's like so out of place, it just continues to elevate the fever dream even more. This level is called the Labyrinth of Time, and if I had to guess, they intended for this to be timed. The speed of the music, the speed of the ramps, it all suggests a race against the clock. You can't speed through this level in reality, though. You need 50 Auryns, and some of them are kind of hidden or require going through certain parts again. But once you got them all, you get the final cutscene. Okay, maybe this game doesn't 100% work well out of box. I'm not sure why it played the cutscene like this, but you aren't missing much. You saved Fantasia, and that's it. No explanations, no figuring out who the Auryn thief was, nothing. That's the whole game. That's it. That's Auryn's Quest. As said before, it holds a special place in my and some friends' hearts, and the only way to show you why was to just kind of give you a brief tour of the game, as it's got all kinds of weird levels and fantastical layouts that there's just all kinds of things to see, from weird inscriptions on the walls to weird faces on the floor. It's honestly something you won't experience in another unfinished, rushed out product. Most unfinished games are just bad or they're like really buggy, but here we have something that was on the cusp of being probably another Dreamcatcher interactive classic, but instead it fell into obscurity, and I think that it should be revitalized in some way, whether that just be experiencing it and being creeped out by its elements, or turning it into a speedrunning scene. There has been attempts to speedrun this game by people before, and it can be beaten pretty quick. If you were to play it for the first time, it would take you 1, maybe 2 hours, but if you know what you're doing, it could be beaten in 30 minutes or less. It won't waste your time, and for that reason, I say go for it. Try it. Anyway, I did miss 2 Easter eggs, but for some reason, in all my footage, I played through the game twice. I never stopped to see them. Thankfully, this game isn't so obscure there's no videos of said Easter eggs. Shout out to these channels. One is simple, Zlep was here. The other is more complex. It's a developer's face with a little message in German. But yeah, I think that about covers everything. I probably left out minor details, but that just leaves room for you to discover the whole wild world of Fantasia. One last thing before I end this video, my copy of Auryn Quest includes an advertisement for a strategy guide. My gut tells me this never got made, as I find no mentions of it online. But if someone somehow has information about this guide, or at least can scan a PDF of it, if it does exist, let me know, please. Well, that's the last video of 2022, and what a wild one to end on. 2023 is almost unknown for me. I'm not really sure what's in store. Hopefully all good things. There's no reason to think bad things are going to happen. It's just, I don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of mysterious. Thank you to everyone for making 2022 a fun year for CD-ROM Fossil, and I can't wait to bring you more videos in 2023. I do have plans, small ones, just videos in the works, and I can't wait for all of you to see what's in store. Until then, have fun partying at New Year's.